or good afternoon now. We have to repeat the show because we were having some technical difficulties this morning. Recorded the whole thing with no sound.
That was awesome.
So we are going to do it again. This time, hopefully you can hear us. So welcome back to another episode of Conscious Straight Talk with Katie and Lindsay.
Hi, my name is Katie Hutchinson, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm also a certified mediator, and we're happy to have you guys today.
And I'm Lindsay Kearns. I'm the mama behind MalibuMamaLoves.com, and I'm also a certified conscious trauma-informed life coach. Something that really irritates me that I hear all the time when we're out and about is the common misconception of, oh my God, that person's a narcissist. Oh, that's so narcissistic. Why would you do that? And it's heartbreaking to me. I hear people commenting this all the time. They probably don't even know what a real, true narcissist is, or what it looks like, or how it can feel to those involved.
They probably definitely don't know, by the way. So narcissistic personality disorder is one of the 10 personality disorders described in the DSM. But honestly, it's rarely diagnosed because they rarely come into the therapy office and nearly impossible to treat. It's about managing the symptoms. Personality disorders are lifelong issues.
Yeah.
Narcissistic personality disorder is a mental condition giving one an inflated sense of their own importance, a deep, seemingly unsatisfiable, or should I say insatiable, need for excessive attention and admiration, while completely lacking empathy on any level. They will take what they want, how they want, when they want, and nothing else matters to them.
Right. The sad thing about this is that these people are usually victims of some pretty severe childhood traumas. They carry these childhood traumas around that have been unhealed, and they build these thick, thick brick walls all around themselves, hiding their inner child that's just devastated. And then they have this exterior, this rough and tough, I'm perfect exterior for everybody else, thinking that they're totally in control and they're all knowing. The cat's meow, as we like to say. But they present as people who do. They know it all. They need to be the center of attention. And they genuinely don't care who gets hurt or who they have to step on as they go. And on the inside lies a person just protecting themselves. Their extremely fragile self-esteem is vulnerable to even the slightest of criticisms.
So how can we tell, Lindsay, if we're dating a narcissist, not just somebody with just like a couple selfish traits?
Well, you've got to look for it and act upon the red flags in a relationship. Now, I do not mean painting those red flags green, because Lord knows I spent many years doing that, and it gets you nowhere, right? But you do. I paint, and I think a lot of women do. We paint the red flags green under this guise from society and pressures and the ways that we were raised to have this picture perfect life. So we kind of try to push away the bad things and pretend they're not happening, or the bad behaviors, and just put them in a box and storm away.
Or do you think that you can change those bad behaviors?
Sometimes people think we can fix, right? But the thing is, I've learned to spot these red flags and accept them. And it's in the acceptance that's the most important thing, because you can know about it, you can read about it, you can join groups about it, and all of those things are super important. It's super helpful for you if you've been through this, but it's in the actual acceptance, the letting go of, the knowledge, okay, this is who that person is. I accept it. And making your plan forward.
So awareness is key. And then just like she said, accepting it is the best thing that you can do with red flags, not green flags. It is pointless to try to change somebody else, regardless of if they have NPD or not. But learning to accept our strengths and our weaknesses and the red flags of others is indeed a skill that every conscious coping toolbox needs. But the truth is, narcissists have pain that is so deep inside that they have to wrap it up in a cloud of, I'm better than you are, because they can't face the pain for various reasons. That is the anger you see seeping out when they feel threatened, like crazy anger. And instead of being helped or guided through healing, they suffer in silence, covering it with arrogance for years because they're too good to go to therapy. It has to be something major like a divorce or they've been fired, which happens a lot. Often emotionally abusing almost everybody that's around them.
Yeah. And it does, and it hurts. And if you've been party to that, it is a slow, long, painful process that just it changes you chemically, changes you physically, it changes your decision-making ability, changes your memory
Changes
regularly.
your whole life. You're being abused.
Right.
Changes
And so,
your whole life.
but the thing is, these people are hurting so deeply inside, and I'm not trying to make that okay. It's not okay what they're doing. I think it's all a bad cycle, right? They're hurting, and that's why these narcissists kind of go after the empaths, if you will, because they understand, they want to fix. They're very much caregivers. You know, we've both been put in those situations
right here.
So, you know, and that's what they look for. They know that, and they're so cunning and charming, and they know how to just draw you right in. But half the time I don't think they're aware of it. They just know they're the best, right?
Yeah.
So there's 9 characteristics, 9 personality traits that are used to determine this. And how many do you need? You
need at least 5 or more.
Okay, so you need at least 5 of these 9 traits. But for the purpose of this show today, we really wanted to share these traits with you and look at it in the way of when you're dating somebody. So you can start to see these red flags, whether you're just starting to date someone right now or you've been dating for a while and you are kind of curious. That's the point of today. We want to share these 9 traits and kind of give examples of what it will look like on a date so that you can really get a hold of these red flags.
Right. So it's not the person that has, 1 or 2 of these characteristics.
Right.
In most personality disorders, we have some of the characteristics.
Right.
It's the person that has a lot of these characteristics. So these people have an exaggerated sense of self-importance, as we discussed before. They have a sense of entitlement and they require constant, excessive admiration.
This on a first date is going to, or the first few dates is going to look like somebody who just dominates the conversation. It is all about them. And anytime you interject, they very strategically bring the conversation as quickly as they can back to themselves. They won't ask you any questions about what's going on with you or what your life is like. They will only talk about themselves.
I'm laughing because I went on a date with this person who said that they were like a high-ranking doctor. I think they said they were a cardiologist, and it turned out they were like a CNA. Aren't those the ones that just take the blood? And the person kept talking about themselves. Never asked me any questions. Never asked, and we were there for a while. Just talked about himself the whole time. Never asked if I wanted more food. Mind you, I was starving. And I was sitting there with my empty drink that I'd already drank. And finally, I was like, oh my gosh, this person is so annoying. I just want to get away from them. So I did something really immature, kind of embarrassed, but this is what happened. I said, I have to go to the restroom. So I go to the restroom and I set my alarm clock on my phone for half an hour. And I'm just sitting there hoping that this person will bail, right? Well, after half an hour, I come out and he's waiting for me. And
that's because he had to, and this is another trait, he had to show you he was superior to you.
He actually said something that was like abusive, or not abusive, just weird after a first date. And so anyways, no.
They're out there. But this also likewise is a great example of you identifying that red flag. I'm sure there was there a second date?
No.
All right. So you did the right thing.
Icky. Like I felt icky when I was with this person. Like, well,
yeah. But that's good that you listen to it and don't say, oh, maybe it was me. I'll try one more date. It's super strong. And that's why we want to talk about these things. Because, maybe you just empowered somebody else to be like, you know what, take a hike. I'm not going out on a date with you again. Yeah.
Or somebody else to just go to the bathroom and sit there for half an hour, right?
Okay. So they exaggerate their achievements and talents, just as Katie's date did, was saying he was something more than he wasn't. And that's a shame because you should be proud to be a nurse. Nurses save people every day. You don't need to lie about what you're doing.
They're great, but I think a CNA just does the blood. I don't know. So they expect to be recognized as superior even without achievements that warrant it.
Mm-hmm.
They exaggerate these achievements and talents, just like we said. I'm a cardiologist.
Yeah.
Turns out all I do is take blood.
And they're constantly preoccupied with like these grandiose fantasies of power and wealth and beautiful
Beauty.
men or women, whichever, car, like amazing cars and the top job with all the power in the company. Right. They're constantly off in dreamland thinking about that.
Right. They might have, the best Tesla around, but then they're living in it and they have no house.
And they have no issue with who they have to step on to get what they want. They don't care at all. That's where it comes back with the empathy, right? That's why they look for the empaths, because they know that we do, and they just can use us as much as they want.
And that's the reason why they actually can climb the corporate ladder, is because they just step on everybody.
Yeah.
But they have so many interpersonal relationships. We'll discuss that in a second. So they monopolize conversations, like I talked about with my lovely date, and they belittle or look down on people that they perceive as less than they are.
Yeah. Now that's going to look something like when they're discussing their clothes, they might slip in a little insult as to what you're wearing, or maybe a choice that you made. It starts so subtle and slow that you're like, did he just insult me, or did she just insult me? I'm not really sure, but just something like, oh, I've got this beautiful Italian suit I had handmade for me. I have all my clothes handmade. Looks like yours might be bought from the store.
Yeah, Target.
But do you see what I mean? That little Target clothes are great. All other clothes are great, Target.
Yeah.
But my point to you is it starts subtle like that, where you're like, well, wait a minute. Was I just insulted?
Do I need to get a
they're good at it.
Yes. Okay. These people expect special favors and unquestioning compliance with their expectations. They take advantage of others to get what they want. That's why I said that's why they can be really good as, getting up to the corporate ladder. And then they'll probably get fired because they'll get into a fight.
Well, and on a date, this will look like somebody who just wants to cut all the lines, has no respect or care for anybody else around you, treats the servers and the waiters like crap.
Ew.
They do, though.
I
you
know,
see
but
this.
that is a telltale sign of a terrible person. Seriously. So they have an inability or unwillingness to recognize the needs and feelings of others. And this is because they lack empathy.
They're only focused on what they want. And they also truly believe inside of them, they truly believe we all exist for them. Right, though?
Yes.
And so they think, she doesn't need anything. Right. He doesn't need anything. Why should I have to, it's about me. They need to be serving me.
And they're also envious of others, and they think everybody is envious of them. They're like, oh, well, that person's not my friend anymore. Or that person doesn't want to date me anymore because they're so jealous of me, because everybody's jealous of me because I'm amazing. Or
there's something wrong with that other person and we're better off away from them. There's definitely something wrong. They don't see how fab I am.
Exactly. They behave in an arrogant or haughty manner, coming across as conceited, boastful, and pretentious.
Oh, yes. And they also have to have the best of everything. So on a date, it's going to be the guy or girl that has the best car and the best job and the best office in the job and the best food and the best drink and
raised the best way, right? Okay, so that's what we said. They insist on having the best of everything. At the same time, people with narcissistic personality disorder have trouble handling any type of criticism, even if it's very, very slight. So what might this look like?
You've heard of the narcissistic blow-ups.
Well, I have.
The narcissistic fits, we call them.
Yeah.
And even with the slightest criticism,
like
the most basic, even if it's just I'm not sure that I love what they did with your hair this time around, but it looked awesome last time. Slight, hey, the haircut, the person didn't do anything wrong. It was the hair cutter, the hairdresser, right? But to them, that's going to turn around and you might have hours or days or even weeks of, your hair is horrible. Who cut your hair? Why do you even bother? Oh, there's no coloring in it. I mean, any insult for days. They cannot stop themselves with even the smallest push. And that's that narcissistic rage. They can't control it. They blow up.
So they become, just like she said, very impatient or angry when they don't receive special treatment. So this
and hostile.
Yes. And this could look like you go to a club and there's a long line. So this person goes, I don't wait in lines. I don't wait in lines. And they go up to the front, just cut in front of somebody to the very front. And they have no problems with that because they lack empathy.
Well, and another example of this is also if you're out somewhere and maybe something else catches your eye and you take your attention off of them for a little bit, this will also trigger narcissistic rage. They can't handle if you are looking at other people or doing something else.
So jealous.
The jealousy and the insecurity. Yeah.
They have significant interpersonal problems, and they're easily, just like we said, feel slighted. So this is where I said they just don't really come into the therapy room unless there's been like a divorce or they've lost their job or whatever, and they'll come in for just a couple of sessions and then they leave. So
and usually it's because somebody else is like egging them on to do it. They don't really feel they have any problems.
No, they don't have any problems. That's why I said they leave right away. They leave usually before they're even diagnosed because they're only in a couple of times. They react with rage or contempt and try to belittle the other person to make themselves feel and look superior.
Yeah, better. Yep. They're depressed and moody because it's like this roller coaster of emotions that they're on, where furious with you, they're angry, and then they feel depressed because, oh, I got insulted and I'm bruised and damaged, and how could she or he think this way? And then to a rage again, and then to honeymoon period. Let's make it all better and draw that person back in. And so it's this brutal cycle. And really at the end of the day, it's due to the insecurity, the shame, the vulnerability that they're feeling deeply inside.
It's this unhealed trauma.
Yeah.
Or is it just PMS? Okay.
No, but and it's sad because of how badly these people truly are feeling inside. They often wreak havoc on everybody who loves them. Everybody. No one escapes.
Yeah, it's just that perfect example of the unhealed trauma and the things that it can do to you.
Yeah, well, narcissistic abuse is subtle, it's long-term, and it's really, really damaging and hard to heal from. And it is a form, it is a form of domestic violence.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I agree. And they have these secret feelings that we've said before, but of just so much insecurity and shame and vulnerability, but they'll never show you that vulnerability.
Well, no, they'll pick it out in you. They project it onto you and create the situation where they're not even, they get mad at you for reacting to them. They think that they're so wonderful, you shouldn't even be doing anything. That was one of the craziest things I had to learn was when they get angry.
Give me an example.
They get angry at you for being hurt, basically, by them. And so they'll hurt you more. And then that is part of the narcissistic rage. And once they get that little bee in their bonnet, right? Whatever the small criticism was or whatever went wrong, and it could be with anyone else. It may most likely has nothing to even do with you. But they can't stop themselves and it just spirals and it's a nightmare. So if any of this stuff sounds familiar, you guys, Katie, what can they do?
You just need to, you can't get rid of it. Let me just tell you, you can't get rid of personality disorders, or at least I've never seen anybody get rid of them. It's just about managing their symptoms, their characteristics, but that requires help. First, they need to be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, which takes a while. I said before, it takes like 10 sessions usually at least to be with a client and then diagnose them. And then it's just managing their traits.
And I think that, on the level of the person who's been through that type of abuse, it's very hard because you have to reach a point where you can't expect any apologies or any type of closure with that person because they simply cannot accept any wrongdoing. So it's a lot of reframing and understanding what's happening with yourself in order to manage the symptoms if you are to stay in the relationship or progress it. So, but reach out. I mean, there's so many communities right now that are focused on this type of abuse, and the help and the work that people are doing has just been amazing. So we really wanted to call awareness to that and start talking about it. It happens. It's part of life. I isolated for so long, wondering what was wrong with me. And I don't want you guys to feel that way. It happens.
Was that because of embarrassment or why do you isolate?
I think a lot of it was because of society. I was trying so hard to be what I grew up thinking I was supposed to be, never taking the time to look at myself or what felt good to me. And I thought I had to hide everything and protect everything and that I deserved it on some level. And it took a long time to get to that point where a lot of reframing, as you like to say.
Oh, and the recognition, the
Yeah.
awareness of what was
And the
really
acceptance.
going on.
And that's what we were talking about before. It's important to accept that this is who this person is. You're not going to change them. You can only change and worry about yourself. And that's what we're trying to get across to you guys. So reach out, give this video a like. We want to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
Join some communities. I can point you in some directions. Drop me a direct message. Definitely get in touch.
Yeah. And if you do see some of these traits, I mean, a few of them, get help, just like she said. A few of them, not one or two. Just,
definitely.
5 or more.
Oh, and Wednesday we have a really cool episode on pathological lying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so be sure to stop back, and hopefully no more technical difficulties.
Yes.
I don't know, is Mercury in retrograde or something right now?
Yes.
It's crazy. All right, guys, have a good day. Bye.